So I'm going to record these meetings and put them into the YouTube channel eventually and make them available in the drive for those of you that can't access the YouTube channel. It's too bad you can't. The YouTube approach worked quite well. There's only one presentation I wasn't able to load, and that was the JCam one. But I sent out a link to that. So the technology seems to work. All this is kind of new to me. And I guess as we've all had interesting meetings this year with the pandemic and not being able to get together face to face. And this one is even a little bit different than some of the ones we may have had. At least I haven't had one this exact format. What we decided to do was, of course, to have these update presentations available for people to watch at their leisure. Can we mute if we're not talking? Getting some feedback. That's better. So, yeah, so we have a different format. The update presentations came in. They're excellent. That was really worked well, I thought. Personally, being able to review them, take my time, was great. I probably got more out of the presentations for this meeting than I have in other meetings because there's less going on and you can take things in well. Then we have a number of questions already assembled. The idea of this meeting is really just to go over the questions and try to get more questions and build up the question register, which I sent out yesterday. And I note that Hongwei and Shinichi already provided some feedback answers, so that's great. You're way ahead of the game. Eventually, what we want to have is a document that has all the questions and all the answers that we can share. So we're going to have probably a better record of the meeting than we've had in the past. I'm hoping that's going to work out well. So today's meeting, we're just thinking about an hour, and then we're going to do it again with another group of people in the Western time zone later today and capture any additional questions as we go. So how we'll work today, like I said, try to keep your microphone muted unless you're talking. We can use chat to either ask a question or ask to speak. And as I said, we're recording this, and I'll also be able to download the chat. So that's how we're going to capture any additional questions. Let's see, we'll have some notes here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can hear you.
Good. I went via the phone. Okay, all good.
Good. Okay, so we have a small group, which is good. Can be a less formal, I guess. We have George from South Africa, Juan, Hongwei, Jinong, Miao, and Shinichi. Again, thank you for the presentations. They're excellent. And I'm pretty excited after watching them, seeing the connections that are made already, but also the ones we could make between different initiatives. And so today, I thought we could just go through the questions that are written quickly. Also, please, again, add any additional questions you might have in the chat, or if you want to speak them verbally, let me know, and I'll give you the floor. So what I'll do, I'll go through, I have the question document in front of me. I'll just go through the document and identify questions related to initiatives that people who are on the call were involved with. So I noticed, Shinichi, you added a question under a comment under JChem updates. We'll get Andy to respond to that. The next on the list is the wrap. So Juan, I'll preface this by saying we've been in some early talks, high-level talks with the World Economic Forum, and they're looking at developing a major initiative for the Sahel region. This is a public-private thing, as you'd expect from them. They go big, so it's many big, really big funders, talking hundreds of millions overall. But it involves the UN organizations. It involves national organizations, both in Africa, but also the funders. It involves a lot of corporate organizations like Mastercard's involved, Rabobank, and others, Nestle's. The idea is to create or de-risk the environment for private sector, provide better information and so on, and move to a better digital economy for the region. And of course, we can support that with the information we already produce, but there's a lot we could probably do at a more detailed level if we got together and coordinate. I think Andy Nelson's going to bring this one up next week in our major discussion meeting, but it might be something we want to look at as a group. So with prefacing all that, any thoughts on what it would take to scale up RAP Rangeland's dashboard, which looked pretty, the land care dashboard that looked pretty impressive, to other regions of the world, for example, the Sahel?
Yes. So part of the answer is that the RAP tool already works globally for some of the features. So this fractional cover product that it's so widely used in Australia, especially around soil conservation, because it shows the total amount of soil protected from erosion. That one is available globally, and that's the thing that this French, or I think it's Belgian group, or group based in Belgium, use for the Sahel assessments of rangeland condition. Some of the features in the tool are only available for Australia. That's about the reporting, the monthly reporting on the ground cover status and the risk of soil erosion. So the answer again is that some of the things are already global, some of them are only for Australia and could be potentially be made global. But the funding we have at the moment comes mostly from the Australian government, and that's why many of our activities concentrate in Australia. So I think my answer will continue, but I already see the next question will having me talking a bit more about that. I don't know, you're going to read it or I can do it myself. Oh, you're muted, Ian.
Sorry. I see Adam Lewis has joined us, so that's great too. Hi, Adam. We have a
that's excellent. Yeah.
So we have a relatively small group, but so we can have some good discussion hopefully this morning. Yeah. So the follow-on with that is when you look at the World Food Program, we see what Digital Earth Africa are doing as well, and you're familiar with that, I'm sure. What do you see as the opportunity to work with them to improve and harmonize the work so that there's a consistent approaches? And yeah, I know you're building your science network. This would be more of building an operational network, perhaps. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay, so that's great that Adam joined, because part of the things we've been doing is in being some sort of facilitator between the people interested in rangelands with Digital Earth Africa. For rangelands, there are so I know about Digital Earth Australia, and Digital Earth Africa is the sister. So I'm familiar with the sort of infrastructure that DEA Africa are building and the sort of data products available. For rangelands, there are several things, but I would say one low-hanging fruit that it's already possibly available via DEA Africa, which is water. Water points for livestock are critical, especially in places everywhere, but especially in places like the Sahel. So knowing where and when water is available is critical, and that's one of the products that DEA Australia and DEA Africa are providing, water, what they call WAFs, water observation from space. The other one is again about fractional cover, which again, for those not familiar with this, is a vegetation cover fraction which in addition to showing the green fraction provided by NDVI or similar indices, provides the non-green fraction, how much dry vegetation is standing and protecting the soil from erosion. As I mentioned already, this is a very widely used product in Australia for many applications, one of them rangelands, but also in the cropland areas about stubble management. And we've seen a lot of interest from African partners in this. So the Sahel example I mentioned is around that. And we've been already talking with Francesco, who works in ILRI in Kenya, and some of his collaborators. We've been having a few meetings with Yang Fang from Geoscience Australia to try and see how to implement Sentinel-2, especially high-resolution fractional cover across Africa. So that's the other big, in terms of rangelands. I mean, DEA Africa is actively talking. Probably Adam will talk about that on crops, but in rangelands, that's a very highly desired data product to have. And part of my own project with the Australian Federal Department of Agriculture is into developing a Landsat Sentinel-2 combined monthly product on fractional cover for our land degradation condition, and that will feed directly into the Africa because the algorithms are more or less the same. So, and the last thing to say here, and I'm trying to avoid being too long, is that one particular thing that we are interested in would be very good to get moving, and probably this, my thinking is some component could help doing that, is in validating these sort of products across Africa, because we understand very well the accuracy of these things in Australia, thanks to many years of very intensive ground field collection data. It's not so much ground data we have in Africa to validate these products. So that's the thing where I see GeoGlam could contribute. The ESA call that I was talking about in my video could help there. Yeah, I'll leave it there. So
that's great. Wonder if Adam wants to comment on any potential that he sees building on what Juan said about linking some of the Digital Earth Africa work with rangelands, grasslands.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. I hope you can hear me okay. Yeah, that's pretty about the best intro I could have asked for from Juan there. We're currently working on a crop masking thing, but in terms of the rangelands, I think there is real low-hanging fruit there in terms of if we could be more supportive by taking those methods, rolling them out in detail over parts or all of Africa, and putting them together in whatever decision support systems are needed. So I can't really add to what Juan said. I'd be really keen to see us move faster in the fractional cover. I think I've been pushing on that a bit, and I think recent conversations with Fong Wan and Juan have got her over the line. We're just waiting for the Landsat data to come through, and then I think we'll start running those products out. That raises certainly the question of how do we validate, and we can potentially use our partners in Africa to drive some validation work around that fractional cover.
That's great. Well, it's a good start. That's very positive, and the whole challenge around calibration validation data is going to come up often, I think, and of course we're going to be talking about that next week. So
probably I might just mention in there, Ian, at midnight tonight I've got a webinar on our validation, Digital Earth Africa's validation approach, and which is starting with the WAFs, and then it'll move into this crop mask, and then it can move into other things. But I think most importantly, it's setting up a pattern of engaging our African partners in the field validation, and that's going to be really valuable.
That's good. Actually, it's timing is good too, because a question came in overnight regarding the validation approach in Digital Earth Africa's crop masking work. So you'll be well prepared to answer that, I guess, at least in written form when I update the questions later today. Good. Okay. Looking at who's on the call, I'll just move down my list. And if anybody has a specific question, please put it into chat or want to bring anything up. Um, Here's one maybe we can talk about. It cuts across many projects, but question was, or a general comment, we have many concurrent mapping initiatives in the same countries. For example, Uganda, we have Senforstat, Digital Earth Africa, EOStat, World Serial, and I'm sure there's others all doing work. Is there interest or perceived value in a cooperative intercomparison study of the results? And I guess you could also ask, is there interest in working together to try to share as much as possible in situ data as well? Any thoughts on that one, Adam?
Sorry, took me a while to unmute there. I think sharing in situ data is a really good step we can try to take. One of the things, the advantages we've got at the moment is because we're saying we're an open platform as we work with our partners to capture data using Collect Earth Online and other things, then we can say that data is going to be freely available. And maybe again that sets up a good pattern for better sharing of in situ data, which is a really sensitive topic. So I think that's one step in the right direction. On the other question, I think we need to try to coordinate and collaborate more effectively, and recognise we might get to points where we have to have bake-offs between products, but it's sort of not the ideal way to get there fastest.
Yeah.
That is. But we shouldn't pretend that working together is always easy. There's just many good reasons why it's harder than we'd like it to be.
It's true. We've had some success through the JCAM network doing intercomparison studies with multiple sites. This is kind of coming in after the fact instead of going in a priori, trying to look at, compare results and so on. I think there's probably value in it, just to sort out the differences in the different products that are being produced. And also, I'm wondering if there would be value in assessing the various approaches to, what we ultimately want to do is develop a basket of best practices for various regions of the world. So with all the work going on in Africa, it seems like it would be a good opportunity to move that forward. Any other thoughts from anybody else on that one? Do you want to speak up, Shinichi, on your comment?
Yeah, you mentioned the lab activities. I saw that there are some presentation from the Chinese other peoples about drought monitoring in the Mongolia. So they providing in the soil moisture information in the Mongolia and successfully coordinating in the Mongolian National Remote Sensing Center. So such kind of the activity is also it's very closely related with regional activities, I think. So maybe we have to coordinate with such kind of regional activities with each theme activities. That is my comments. And also I know Adam Ruiz and also some David Hudson, they already working together to how to coordinating such kind of issue in Asia, Oceania.
Good. Okay. Any other comments on this discussion thread before we move on? Okay. Sophie's not here and Pierre's not here, but there's a a new project called Agricultural Virtual Lab. I don't know whether you got the chance to look at the video, but this is kind of an exciting occurrence. It's an activity that is going to be long term, so it's going to be a chance to engage and bring in and build science in Africa in particular, and should also engage JCAM. So I just wanted to put that out there. We have some questions for Sophie and Pierre on that one, and we'll see what they say. Going down my list, Digital Earth Africa again. Adam, how does an interested party access Digital Earth Africa ARD data and the reference data?
Thanks, Ian. I actually just emailed you before the meeting a couple of responses to this.
Oh, good.
But broadly, and I'm happy to fill it out with more things, but yeah, the platform and the data are open, and the data can be accessed in multiple ways, like directly from the Amazon S3 bucket, via OGC services, through the analysis platform, and probably through Esri systems as well, which are going to directly reference the data. And I can give a website to get into that. And then the reference data, as I was saying before, the reference data are being collected through Collect Earth Online with our implementing partners in Africa. And they'll be an open data set, but we're just not sure where to house them and how to house them yet. We're talking to Radiant Earth and Collect Earth Online to try and figure out the best model to do that.
What do you think the timeline is for that approximately?
The latter part, months rather than years. Yeah, I reckon that maybe in the first quarter of next year we'll know what we're doing.
Great.
Can I jump in quickly here? Sorry, Adam, I was going to add that the Slack channel between people doing actual work with the DEA, both Australia, Africa, and any other DataCube instance, is a great resource. Can be a bit messy, disorganized. This is sort of a chat for developers and people actually doing things. The one problem it has is that Slack being free, it hides any message more. It only has the 10,000 latest available messages. So I would strongly encourage GA or anyone to, I don't know how expensive it is, but to pay the subscription to Slack to have all that available. It's I'm one of those users doing things with DEA, and it's a great resource. But the problem is that anything old, you lose it. So completely side comment, but I would really encourage EA to find a way, that money for making that available.
I'll certainly look into that. It has crossed my mind though that I can write this in Slack and it will disappear in a few days and no one will ever see it again.
Yeah, but it's great because there are people all around the world, not just Australia, the DEA Africa, but people in Colombia, in many other places using the channel because the platform is the same in any DEA instance. Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that.
So might as well go on with you, Adam. We're making you work hard today. How do you see, this is kind of a high-level question, how do you see GeoGlam benefiting from Digital Earth Africa, both from the products and I guess the data perspective? Some of that's kind of obvious. And how can GeoGlam help to support Digital Earth Africa?
Yeah, so I thought the answer to this is that with the crop mask, which is what my presentation talks to, we're starting with analysis ready data and trying to produce, we hope, one essential agricultural variable, that is crop area. And we'd see that as a resource that GeoGlam can then use, and then any or many others can use that same resource. So we're trying to put in place one step, but we think it's an important one. And the advantages to doing it in that sort of small step way are that it can be very robust because each layer of information that you produce is kind of tolerant of changes in methods or data or personnel. So it's a small step, but a big step. And then that, I guess we can also contribute information this way to the food security question in Africa without being food security experts ourselves. GeoGlam can help Digital Earth Africa by this sort of thing, keeping us engaged in the EAV work. and then helping us to figure out where and when to connect. So what are the requirements, say, for frequency, accuracy, and latency of a crop layer, a crop mask? Are there key GeoGlam processes that we need to connect with, critical dates and so forth? So that's how that could help. And then beyond the crop masks, there's all the other things around rangelands that we just talked about.
Okay, good. I think there'll be a lot of interest in that as we get, I think as the community gets more familiar with the work going on with Digital Earth Africa and the ARD data, it'll be seen as a great resource. And if we get really high quality products coming out of things like the crop mask, our whole approach in the AVs, as you know, is hierarchical. So kind of at the highest level are those masks, and then we do our crop mapping below that within those units and so on. So if we get it right at the high level, we can do a better job as we move down that hierarchy. So it's quite important and quite useful. What really excites me is the fact that this is going to be updated over time. Now, in that regard, in light of the CIOS AFOLU, the UNFCCC Global Stocktake and so on, have you put much thought into how you develop products in Africa that would be compliant with the needs of a global stocktake, where you're doing, say, one-off mapping in a given year, but you know you're going to, in a set number of years later, you're going to be redoing it, and not just, and also looking at change. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's one area where GeoGlam could really help us to connect to a global requirement and those bigger picture reporting things. So I'm not personally well connected to that discussion, although through CIOS I may get much more connected. And GE Africa's being driven by our African Advisory Committee and partners. So connecting us to that global context is important. It is one of our high-level outcomes, but GeoGlam could really help us to do that. So we'd be keen to work through you and with you on that, I think.
Good, and I think we'll be able to help move that through the roadmap process that's going to go on with CIOS for the UNFCCC as well. So hopefully over the next year we can make some progress together.
Right.
Okay, so.
Hello, Ian.
Yes.
Hello, Ian.
Yes, please.
Ian Nov. So I'm not familiar with Digital Earth Africa, but I just checked the website. I find two services will be provided. First one is water, another is crop monitoring. So I would like to recall my Japanese colleague's comment. So in our community, I think many people are also doing drones. So perhaps we should pay a little bit more attention to drought issues. Then we can, because you know that drought is water-related issues. Water scarcity is drought. So perhaps we can have some our community can do something related to drought. Then we can put this into Digital Earth Africa. Okay.
I think you're on mute.
Sorry, again. Perhaps I should.
Some problem with my voice, so I'm not sure if there's a problem.
I could hear you. I'm not sure about the rest, but my dog is eating his breakfast next door, and it's making a lot of noise. That's why I was muted. But no, maybe see if Adam has a comment on that.
Sorry, I sort of missed it.
My Japanese colleague just mentioned that many people are doing drones already in our community. The drought is one of the big issues in Africa. So if our community can have a small small task or small group to promote joint related tasks. So then we can link those activities with Digital Earth Africa.
So the whole coordination idea, that's
broadly.
Really why we reached out to Digital Earth, and they reached out to us to try to work together, at least on the crop masking initially. But the water is an interesting issue because everything's connected, of course, and Juan already brought that up as well. So I suspect there's a lot of ways we can work together, cooperate, and build on the work that's going on. That's what these meetings are about, or to see what other people are doing and where we can benefit and where we can all contribute. So Adam, do you have anything to
add? No, I would just agree with that. It's great to be connecting with this community now. And of course, the water layers that we're producing are free and open. We're currently validating that. As soon as Landsat release their next collection, we'll run all the algorithms over that, and that will sort of pretty much finish the operationalization of that product, and then it can be just maintained and then used in the other systems.
That's good. And Jinlong, I would point out we had troubles getting links to YouTube, of course, to our colleagues in China, but I have provided links to the hard drive. I'll update that for you later. Adam has a presentation in there that gives a bit of overview on Digital Earth Africa, but also goes into more detail on the crop mask activity. So, please submit any follow-up questions or thoughts you might have in written form in that questions document anytime after the meeting. I'll be asking for feedback on those questions up until the end of next week, so there's a fair bit of time to get that done. Okay, we'll go to Shinichi and Asia Rice now. And I see Sophie joined us now. That's good. That's early. Thank you very much. But Shinichi, he replied with some answers to the question, but I'll give him an opportunity to, and everybody will see those eventually, but I'll give him an opportunity to speak to them further if he wants. The question was, Asia Rice makes a very important contribution to global crop monitoring, in particular through the work they do to provide information to the crop monitor for Amos. And it's the primary source of rice information for Asia. Do you now consider it an operational activity, suggesting that it would be sustained and continuous? If so, what is the vision to sustain the service? Nietzsche?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jan. And yes, and it's already operational, I think. But one of the challenges is how to sustainable to have the budget, because to have the expertise from the Asian countries, especially for the Ministry of Agriculture, they would like to have some of the budget to continue to supporting this kind of activity. Because now we just to providing a small money to have the lecture for them, and also to asking them to supporting, because this kind of the job is for the extra job for them. Therefore, that they're realizing they need some of the budget to do this kind of job. Until now, we JAXA or Japan to providing some of the support, but we don't know about 3 or 5 years later. Therefore, that is one of the challenges, how to sustainable this kind of the job. But a good sign is our Ministry of Agriculture just recently agree to moving our JAXA system to their system. And they will open their meteorological information systems from the early next year. And we just to start to coordinating with them, MAF, Ministry of Agriculture, Forest and Fisheries in Japan, and to how to supporting this kind of activity. And that is a good sign, but still the problem is the sustainability of the budget. It's the same kind of issues for the geo activities. And also if you, supporting in the planting area information is more challenge because as I already mentioned several years ago and continue to mention, but still we cannot to getting any ground observation data to validating in the regional areas or all of the country. Because they agree, like a JCAM or Asian rice testing site in the one province, they can agree. But if when we expanding on the all of the country, we have to asking them to sharing some ground-based data, but they cannot sharing such data. And actually, they only collecting the information from the interviews, not to do the ground observation. Therefore, to improving the accuracy of the rice planting area or rice growing information are still very big challenge. Therefore, in the collaboration with ISRO, and so we just starting to using the high resolution optical data as a training data for the rice radar data. So such kind of way we just mixing to the using the optics with radar, and you can also see and successful the accomplishment in the sales 2020 by the ISRO with us, JAXA, and to show the Bangladesh entire 2018 rice planting map is a rainy season. But this kind of the work is ISRO would like to plan to expanding in the BIMTech countries, and so we would like to collaborate with them. That is the current situation.
Okay, that's good. Glad you're making some progress on that, looking for alternative sources of in situ data. As we see, it continues to, no matter where we're looking in the world, it's an issue. And again, we'll be discussing that more next week, but I'll be sending out a discussion paper probably tomorrow on to set up that discussion. Really trying to find out what we want to do as a community to improve the situation. How much we want to try to take in. And okay, so I'll leave it at that. Any other comments?
Jan, this is Sibendu Rai from India.
Oh, great to see you.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, for EMIS, we have a regular telecon every month to talk about the crop situation for 4 major crops of the world. And so that's a very, very interactive and every agency provides every so it finally goes into a MIS report. I was wondering if Dr. Sili agrees. Can we have similar regular meetings or telecons of ACRIs so that all the ACRIs involved participants discuss how the rice situation is emerging in different countries? So that will make the ACRIs more a vibrant mechanism. Currently, of course, ACRIs is doing a lot of work, but more of a satellite database analysis work, some kind of further discussion about overall rice situation in the country, in ASEAN region. A regular telecon can be maybe useful, the way we do for GeoGlam EMIS telecons.
Yes, and thank you very much to mention about that one. Actually, we just gradually restarting some of the telecom with the Asian partners, especially for the ISRO or other space agency. But we would like to also to inviting to you and also the other Ministry of Agriculture to join our telecom, because we just to starting some of the telecom with them to develop the virtual platform for the rice planting information sharing. Therefore, it might be a good opportunity to discussing with the Ministry of Agriculture people like you and others. Thank you very much for your reminding.
Yeah, but I would say that well, GeoGlam mostly uh, considers the user agencies like agriculture ministries, like USDA or Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India. ACRIs is more into the space agencies. I think it should involve more user agencies. It should involve more agriculture ministries in different countries. But ICRIS has always been typically a space agency forum rather than a user agency forum. I think more and more users should be the way it is done in GeoGlam. GeoGlam is more of user agency forum. So similarly, SCI agency should have more of user agency forum rather than a space agency forum.
Yeah, I know the services which you mentioned, but only some of the countries, Ministry of Agriculture, already using the space-based data in Asia, and in India is the most advanced country with the involvement of the Ministry of Agriculture, and second maybe the Indonesia, but other country is very behind. Therefore, it's still a very big gap between the Space Agency and the Ministry of Agriculture. So we try to inviting them, but only the currently the more powerful working from the Ministry of Agriculture is only the India and Indonesia. Therefore, we gradually try to promoting them, but still there are unfortunately there are very big gap about how to using the remote sense data for the Ministry of Agriculture working in Asia. So anyway, I know that your point, and we have to try to working for how to improve in such kind of situation and to convincing the Ministry of Agriculture. Actually, it's the same thing even in Japan. So we try to convincing our Ministry of Agriculture now.
Unfortunately, Tui couldn't make it. She'd definitely have a comment about this as well. But I think the strength, kind of a high-level statement on all that, is the strength of GeoGlam is it brings together multiple partners and space agencies and agriculture agencies, and every country's different on who is doing the work. And the real value of the AMOS crop monitor, as well as the crop monitor for early warning, is the fact that we bring the science-based information together with the on-the-ground experience and understanding and knowledge, and create that kind of qualitative assessment every month. And it's a lot of effort, but that's what really gives that information the authority that it has. It's a consensus report, it's well respected, and so on. It wouldn't be if we didn't do it this way. So the more we can build these connections and build these networks, whether they be regional or global, the better I think the results will be for our community. Okay, now why don't we move on to Crop Watch for GeoGlam, Hong Wei. This is a very recent development and very exciting, I think. It should be a large, significant activity involving many partners. It's going to hopefully help also kickstart some JCAM work, but I guess we'll find out more as we go. And also the capacity development side. And again, the interest in Africa and working in Africa. Good opportunity to coordinate with things that are already going on. So the first question was around, and I should say Hong Wei did provide written answers, so these will be provided back to you in written form, but I'll just ask it here since we're all talking together. Crop Watch for GeoGlam is an exciting recent development. In terms of timing, when do you think you'll have a kickoff meeting with the partners?
Yeah, and actually, we get this project in last month. So, according to the schedule, we will hold on the had the kickoff meeting maybe in the early age of next year. So this is our plan, but we should discuss with our partner Pierre at UCL. I think Sophie is in here, so because
Yeah.
Pierre is also our partner, so I will discuss with Pierre and then confirm the exact day, and then provide agenda to the Geogram secretary. So I want you also can join our kickoff meeting.
Good. And the follow-up, I guess, is more focused on the capacity development side. And I know CropWatch is already very active in Africa, and there are many of us who are active in Africa. I think if we even better coordinate what we're doing, we can have greater reach, greater impact for the same level of effort. That's my little editorial, I guess. But as project lead and co-lead of the capacity development working group, which gives you good insight into this,
Yes.
do you have any early thoughts on how we can further coordinate our many capacity development activities, particularly in Africa?
Yeah, and today I listened to the presentation and comments from Adam. This is the first time I know Adam do this work, do the digital Earth in Africa, and I see the video for provided by Adam. A lot of work do by them, and I also see a lot of work do by Juan in Africa. And I know Professor Pierre is also do a lot of work in West Africa and South Africa, and we also do a lot of work in South Africa. So this is why we select the African as a major candidate. We want we want based on our experience and partners' experience to improve the agriculture monitoring capacity of African countries. But I think in this process, Geogram Secretary has very good ability to coordinate these things.
That's good to hear. One catalyst for this work, I think, coming up is we've been in discussions. Both Geo, myself, and Catherine Nakambi from Harvest have been in discussions with the UNFCCC adaptation people about contributing to the national adaptation plans. And I see this as a great opportunity to really accelerate and scale up the work we're doing in Africa together. If we could work together on that and develop toolboxes and so on, and training and harmonize between activities, I think we can really make a major impact on this climate adaptation file. Okay, so
do you have anything you want to say, Miao?
Okay, for following the suggestion from Shinichi about the capacity building, and also the discussion about the capacity activities in Africa, I'm thinking like Asian Rise. Actually, this initiative starts the collaboration between research institutes. This is why in the beginning mostly the space agencies and research institute was involved. But when this initiative progress, we have to involve more agriculture agencies or ministries to be involved. And Geogram capacity building working group could help to coordinate between different countries. I think the capacity building working group, this is one of the tasks for the working group. Similarly, in African, there's already several projects working on developing tools for African, and also doing the trainings for different countries, capacity buildings. So those activities could also be coordinated in the framework of GeoGlam. The project Hongwei introduced, that project was just granted this month, last month, and focusing on some countries. I think just 3 or 4 countries in Africa. Some other projects maybe focus on other countries. So by coordination within GeoGlam, with the collaboration between different projects, probably we could have a more or even full coverage so that GeoGlam can help most African countries. Maybe some projects focus on South African, some projects focus on East African. So by coordination, I think GeoGlam could help more African countries to build the capacity on the crop monitoring. This is what I'm suggesting.
Good, thanks.
May I add something on that topic?
Please
Sophie
do.
speaking. Yeah. Okay. So I fully agree on what has just been said. I think that the capacity training would really benefit from a GeoGlam coordination because there are many projects working in the same country. And so we should avoid having different projects contacting separately the country, because at one moment the country is also fed up to receive requests. And so having a better coordination is very important on that. And at the same, another way to improve could be also to rely on regional network or regional agency. In Africa, there are, for instance, in the Eastern Africa, there is the RCRMD. And so I think that this kind of regional office can also play a role in the coordination of a neighbor country and also to save resources. So I think that there is some training that needs, some parts of the training and capacity building that needs to be done really country specific, but this is also important to share experience between countries. And so this can be achieved through this regional network. And also for us, when we have project with a limited amount of resources dedicated to the training, if we can rely on one office to touch many countries, that is also a clear asset. This is another way.
Building on those comments, Sophie, what do you see the role, it's premature perhaps, but what do you see the role of the Agricultural Virtual Lab initiative in all this?
For the capacity building and training, so the AVL, the Agricultural Virtual Lab, is ready for researchers. So this is a very specific audience. This is not the countries or the ministries which will work there. So they will benefit from AVL because there will be some tools which will be maintained there, like the Cento-Agri or other tools which can be embedded in AVL. And so these tools will be ensured on the long term thanks to AVL. But in terms of platform and capacity building, this is not the main ambition of AVL to provide this capacity building. The capacity building will be how to use AVL to make your research, but not to develop your own monitoring system. This is slightly different.
Okay. With respect to knowledge management, what do you see the relationship between AVL and the GeoGlam portal on the GeoKnowledge Hub?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I know. I hope you answer it for you.
Yeah. I think that AVL will be a platform for R&D for researchers, and the main intent, the main benefit of having GeoGlam on board of AVL is that it remains relevant in terms of scientific challenges that it will address. So I think that AVL can be a success. There are different things that can make the success of AVL. The first is the variety of data that will be provided there. So we are still at the beginning, but the ambition is really to provide access to a variety of EO dataset and also in situ dataset, and this is really important. And the second one is to foster the collaboration between the scientists to really be able to meet some scientific challenges where researchers, when they do on their own lab, it might be difficult for them to find the good colleagues to rely on in another topic. And so these two things, the sharing of the data and the sharing of the experience, are key. And on that, I think that a big push of GeoGlam for in situ data sharing, for instance, but also on identifying the topics that need cross-border experience are good. This is guidance, really.
Great. Do you think the AVL will be an opportunity to grow the JCAM network, or just interact with what we already have established?
I think GCAM is the perfect user of AVL. This is a bit the way GCAM is working that we would like to encourage also in AVL, having cross experiments between scientists, sharing the protocols, sharing the data, and having all together the benefit. And so we hope that AVL can become a platform for some GCAM experiments. This is one thing. And this is also a way of promoting the best practices developed in GCAM throughout the whole community.
Good. And while I got you, you submitted a lot of really good videos and a lot of initiatives, so no good deed goes unpunished, of course. I had a question about Send2Agri, and it's in the written questions, but it's had such a huge impact. Just looking at the downloads and the number of places it's been applied, it's almost becoming a standard approach. The tool is very important. Geo Symposium earlier this year, the Send2Agri Amazon Web Services Click and Go session was almost double the participation of any other session. So it just shows the thirst for Send2Agri, but also knowledge management being out there. So all that said, my shorter question is, a lot of these things are project-based. The project money goes away, so the sustainability is sometimes uncertain. With Send2Agri as the example, what do you see as the long-term plans, medium to long-term plans, I guess, for these tools? I know you continually evolve them, but over the longer term, what do you see happening to the hosting and maintaining of these things? Difficult question, I know.
No, you're right. That this is probably a bigger challenge than the project in itself. This is the life after the project. I think that the AVL, the fact that ESA has funded AVL is a very good sign. So AVL for the moment is a project for 3 years, but this will last much longer. This AVL is there not only for 3 years; it's there to remain in the long term. And this AVL will be the place where this kind of tool will be maintained.
Okay,
so
good.
The maintenance is there. It is ensured. So if I don't know if the Landsat 8 or the Sentinel-2 are changing their format, so the Send2Agri system will be just updated so that it can continue running. So this is maintenance. Maintenance does not mean evolution. I think evolution, this is also possible thanks to the fact that this is open source. So this is available on GitHub. And so everybody can contribute, and updates are always available as soon as they are there. And then the last aspect is the support. So this was for the tool, and the other aspect is for the support of the user community. And here I think that this is, for the moment, for this kind of tool, this is on a voluntary basis, the best we can do. We are relying on GeoGlam. We are benefiting also from GeoGlam to promote Send2Agri, to support the community. We are doing some efforts by ourselves, but I think this is our life to everyone, not only Send2Agri.
Yeah, I think you're setting a really good example for the rest of the community on the way you've sustained the activity. You've evolved it as much as you could. But even I think today, even you're having a training session at
Sure.
some point, right? So it goes on, and I'm really pleased to see that linkage to the AVL, and knowing that ESA have already said that while this is a 2 or 3 year project, the intent is to have a long-term facility.
Yeah.
So in government type funding, that's about as good as it gets, and that's great. So
I think, yeah.
wonderful.
And maybe the last thing is that, yeah, I think this will be the same for all types of projects, but here with ESA, we have some continuity between the Cent2Agri, the Cent4Cap, and now the Cent4Stat. This system built one on the other, there is a kind of a heritage. And so, for instance, Cent2Agri was pixel-based optical data, Cent4Cap included the SAR data, but we are object-based. And so Cent4Stat that is being developed now will be Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, pixel and object. And so we hope that at the end, Cent2Agri will be embedded in Cent4Stat. And so if we manage to fuse, then it will become also easier for us and for the user. So this is a way of managing the different tools. But this is internal to the project, but this is another way to ensure the users that the continuity is there.
That's good. Good. Okay, so I had initially intended to be about an hour. I'm quite happy to keep continuing with it if anybody wants to continue. I see there's no additional questions in chat. I've got through the list of questions we sent out with the people that are on the call. I don't think I've missed anything. If I have, let me know. So I guess I'll ask you, are there any more questions or follow-ups on what we've heard so far? Any new items? And if not, we can wrap up.
Ian, just to clarify, you want us to send you written responses to the questions?
Yes, please. I can pull some out of the recording here, but it'd be much easier probably to give a concise response if you could. And again, by the end of next week would be fine. And I'll go over the transcripts from these, and I have the chat as well. So I'll try to parse all that out, and I think we'll have a nice document when we're done of the question and answers. It'll be quite useful for everybody. We're not usually this rigorous at keeping notes, but this is a different approach. So, and believe me, I'm learning as I go. So we'll see how it works. And okay, so nothing new. So next week is, I think, a very important meeting because we're going to discuss new issues, and the in situ came up almost every discussion today. Not surprising. We'll be discussing about how perhaps to move forward in that. And as I said, tomorrow there'll be a very brief, I think it's 2 pages or so, discussion paper coming your way to kind of set that up with some recommended actions that we can discuss in more detail next week. We'll be discussing the Knowledge Hub and where we are with that. And I'll probably be doing a bit of a review of what we did, the success, I think, of what we did with Sophie and UCL on the Cent2Agri AWS click and go tool. Will be in there as well, and the intentions to build the GeoGlam portal on the Geo Knowledge Hub. And then also want to discuss the UNFCCC, the climate response that our community can do, building on the EAV work that we're doing more quantitative metrics, supporting the global stocktake, also the nationally, a lot of the tools we develop can help support the nationally determined contributions. And of course, I've already mentioned the national adaptation planning. So discuss that and see how we can mobilize around that. I think Andy Nelson is going to bring up the World Economic Forum opportunity, or we'll discuss that a bit as well. I don't know, Adam, you've probably been discussing, I don't know if you've discussed directly with Sean and the World Economic Forum people, but the Sahel initiative sounds like quite a positive opportunity to bring our community together and provide a coordinated response to that. And also link us to some funding organizations, hopefully. So that's next week. I think that'll be very important, and I would invite anybody to bring additional items forward as we have time to discuss next week. It's a bit more of an expansive meeting. Unfortunately, it's impossible to schedule something that's at a good time for everybody globally. But we've kind of put it in the middle of the European day, and so except the people in Europe and perhaps Africa, everybody else will be disrupted at an equal level. And Adam, I know you're very experienced with all the CIOS meetings, these global meetings. It's you do a lot of late night.
Experienced of being disrupted.
Yeah, exactly. Disrupted and disruptive. Okay, anything else?
That was a really good discussion. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to this afternoon. You're welcome to join. Anybody's welcome this afternoon, or my time. But I don't.
2 a.m. No
midnight.
thanks.
Yeah, midnight. It's not a good time for us. Yeah.
We already have a midnight meeting.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But the responses this morning, I'll try to bring forward whatever my mind can absorb to the next meeting, and we'll have a lot more contributions from others. We'll be recording that one as well, as long as I don't forget to press that record button. So it'll all be available for everybody. And again, thanks everybody for the great contributions today in this meeting, the conversation, as well as all the work that went into the presentations that were really excellent. So with that, we'll say goodbye and wish everybody a good day and evening.
Good day.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye, Ian.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.